Hello, my name is Miss Dina and I'm going to show a multiplication progression in the Montessori classroom. So I'm not going to go into super detail on each work, but I'm going to show you how we progress from basic multiplication all the way to the more difficult multiplication works. So the first multiplication work would be the multiplication board. You obviously need to know addition before you get to this place. This is what the multiplication board looks like. The numbers across the top from 1 to 10. It comes with the red colored beads and these little numbers that slip in here on the side. The number on the side here is the multiplicand, and the numbers at the top are the multipliers. And I'm going to be doing multiplication by 7, which is the number here, and it's red, so that's how many times I have to get my beads. So I have 7 beads ready to go, so I'm going to do 7 times 1, so you put your little red counter there. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One time is 7. There's 7 beads one time. I have this little sheet which has the board. This is one of those sheets that I use from a set of workbooks that I copy. It's a practice number 6. And the child will color in 7 spots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I use pencil at first because I don't want them to get overwhelmed if they make a mistake. So we did 7 one time. 7 one time is 7. And you can, if you want to, write the multiple at the top here because I think sometimes it helps. You'll see why. So what you can do after that is get 7 more beads because we're going to do 7 2 times. And I have a little plate here that I just put them in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to do 7 2 times. I have my 7. I'm going to move this over to the 2. And you can start counting from this, where you left off, and go 8, 9, and so on. So it makes it easier as you get to the more down the row. But sometimes the kids will just put 7 down because they want to do 7 2 times. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 2 times. But then they have to go back and count them all over again to see how many there is when it's 7 2 times. I can go back and look that I had already had 7 here and count from there. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's another multiple of 7. So I wrote my 14. 7 times 2 is 14. And I'm going to color 7 more boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 2 times is 14. And I also have my little answer sheet here, which I forgot to fill out. So 7 1 0 times, we teach the child right off the bat that anything 0 times is still 0. And 7 1 time is 7. And 7 2 times is 14. So you can write this on the side so you know where to count off from. Or you can write it here at the top in this little space so you can know where you're counting from with that 14. So I'm at 14 at 7 times 2. I'm at 14 at 7 times 2. You can see it in 2 different places. And you're just going to keep going down the row with the 7s. So that is how you would use the multiplication board. The multiplication board would be the first multiplication work that a child would use hands-on to understand multiplication. I'm not going to go through all of them because I want to show you what the next step would be. You can use just basic equations already made out for them to just try different equations if you don't want them to just do one exact family. And then you're going to get them to practice over and over again that multiplication table, those multiples, all the way until their confidence is grown and they can move to a multiplication chart. You can print these out too. They have them online. These are like those timetable charts, completely empty, right? When you are seeing it all filled out, it will look like this with all of the answers in there. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. This is how you use the chart. So you bring your numbers together to get your answer. Like 3 times 4 is 12, the same as 3 times, or 4 times 3 is 12, the same as 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 4, 4 times 3 will still be 12. So this is teaching them how multiplication has that commutative property as well. And you can change the multiplier and the multiplicand and still get the same answer, same as with addition. Multiplication and addition have that commutative property. But this chart would be the next thing. So you want them to really hone in their skills and their expertise doing the practices many, many times. And then they would do a chart to see if they can put all their numbers in the chart. So I would do something like setting out 3 multiples. They're hard to see because they are in yellow in this work. So 14. And I'm focusing on 7s. And so after I've done this work, I will know that 7 times 2 is 14. And I will slip that right into that spot where the 7 times 2 would go. I have my 7 times 3. And if I kept going with my chart here, I would know that 7 times 3 would be 21. And I would slip that here where 7 and 3. And then I have my next one here. I had really picked them out. 7 times 4 would be 28. So I would slip that right next to that. So you can pre-select the tiles. They are like this in a little container, all the numbers. You need to have them all so they can have success doing the whole chart. But if you just want to focus on the 7s, you can just bring out the multiples of 7. Okay, so that helps it not be so overwhelming all at one time. So start with the board, move to the chart. You can focus on one family so they can understand the process. Okay, so those would be the first 2 works, the first intro works that you would do with your child. This is just kind of get them introduced to the concept of multiplication being repeated addition. They're seeing 7 one time, 7 2 times, 7 3 times. You're just adding 7 more each time. So they're going to understand that. And then you're going to move on to the next work using colored beads. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I have another setup over here. And this is our colored bead area. So we have all the colored beads here. And there's one colored bead section missing because I'm going to show you that when I got the 7s out. So we are here in our little color bead cabinet area. And I'm going to show you what you would do after you've worked on the board and the chart multiple times. The kids will have used these colored beads to understand the numbers, putting the numbers in order, and they do that since preschool. And now we know by this point that 7 is the color white. And so we're going to do a short bead practice. The short bead is showing multiplication of 7 times 7. So here is this practice sheet, the same worksheets that I left. So 7 times 7, and we have the short bead represented here. And we have empty spots. These empty spots represent what we're going to be counting, where our arrows would go. So you would go 7 times 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I would write 7 times 1 is 7 right there. And then I would keep going. 7 times 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 7 times 2, 14, and I write 14 right there. I just forgot my pencil. So I forgot to hustle it over here so I can write them all down. But this work is already set out for a friend for the morning. So they're going to use these sheets to do all the way across 7 times 7, all the way. And that will help them understand exponents. So this is actually a representation of the 7 square. This is 7 times 7. There's 7 and 7 rows of 7. And so if they gathered up this short bead chain and put it all together, it would make that perfect little square, which is kind of hard to see because I'm not having it flat. It would make the perfect little square to match right on top. They're the same. this square is the same as the short bead. The short bead is just like this so that the kids can more easily put their arrows and count with it. And I used their worksheet because I want them to have something to take with them to practice. Now you would do the long bead chain next for 7 times 7 times 7, so 7 cubed. And there's that representation right there as well. So 7 cubed, this is the end product of 7 cubed. The long bead chain is very long to where you would need to put it on the floor, and you would need to count out each part of it. So that would be them showing themselves through physically counting the concept of squaring and cubing and their end up product of how it all looks at the end. And they're also practicing their counting by sevens. So that would be the next part, is using the colored beads to help the child understand the concept of multiplication. And you can do it for all of the beads that are here, the squares being on this side and the cubes being on the top side. So it's already organized. This is the workbook that I was mentioning in the beginning and now that I use. And it has the multiplication board pages, and it has the bead chain pages that you can make copies of if you like, or just use it if you have just one child that you're working with. But they have a lot of great examples of the board and equations. And as a teacher with my students, I find it really helpful. You can do type multiplication of 5s, and you can do all the different bead chains. Okay, so that's a great resource, and I'll put the link in there for you. And then we're going to move into the next part, which would be, to me, it's kind of debatable because I will go back from NAMC to AMS. I was trained with NAMC. They go to the Pegboard next on their chart. I find the Checkerboard to be a little bit more in the realm of understanding for my students, and that's more the AMS style. So I will show you both, but I'm going to go to the Checkerboard at the very end because it's a little bit longer. So I understand why NAMC does that, but to me, the Pegboard, which I will show you right now, can be a little complicated and can lead more into the division, concepts of division. So here is the Pegboard. It is a board with a bunch of little holes in it and these colored pegs. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. So there is the board. And when you're using this Pegboard, you're going to teach them a number and how to split it into a factor family, so a factor tree. So what I chose and what I'm representing here, I already did the work because I do want to show you the progression, and this is not a video that's showing you how to use the board start to finish. This is just showing you the progression of multiplication in Montessori for my teachers out there. So this is representing 12, and what you do is you get 12 in your little cup of the pegs, and I already did that in the first row. And I was trying to see if I can do 12 2 times. And so I did 12 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and 6 times. So I got 12 here 6 times. And then you would get 12 more and see if you could do it 3 times. Would 3 work? Would 3 be a factor? And if there was one left on its own that didn't work, didn't go in evenly, you knew it wouldn't work. That's how you would correct the error. So I tried with 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. Now I know my multiples. By this point, I should know them. So 3 is a multiple of 12. I got my pegs again, and I tried with 4 next. And now I know my multiples. 4, 8, 12, and it worked perfectly as well. I tried with 5, and it didn't work. Let me show you how you would do that when it doesn't work. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12. And it's important to know how to lay it out. I would leave 4 boxes clumped together because you put things in pairs. It makes it easy to understand odd and even. So I'm just going to put it right here. And I can see if I can do it. Can I do it 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an odd number. And then I'm going to try again. 1, 2, 3. Oops, 4. I went up too high. And 5. I like to leave 4 boxes in between each one of my numbers. So I have 10, but I only have 2 left. That doesn't make another equal 5. So that would tell you, nah, that doesn't work. Okay, so you can take it back and say, no, 5 is not a multiple of 12, so that wouldn't work. We move to the next number, 6. Would 6 be a multiple of 12? Okay, I can do that. I have 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. And you can see right there, yes. So I'm here in this little green section right now. And I have 6. Okay, let me see if I can do another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So perfect. And since I know my counting songs, 6 and 12, I could have already known that that was going to work. And you can do 7, you can do 8, you can just keep going. So I can see here that 2, 3, 4, and 6 are multiples of 12. 2, 3, 4, and 6. The other ones aren't multiples of 12. Okay, so just 2, 3, 4, and 6. What I have down here is a representation for my factor tree. So when you write your factor tree, you write it out like this. You write out your 12 at the top. This is my factor tree of 12. And my first equation to get there was 2 times 6. That's the first one at the very top, 2 times 6. It's 2 6 times. But then I can still break down 6 more. So I broke it down to 2 times 3. And after that, I know I'm done because I can't break down the other numbers. However, you can always break a number down 1 times that number, so 1 would always work. So that's why at the very bottom you will see 1 is a factor, and 1 is a factor of all numbers. And then I had another factor tree here because I could also do 3 times 4 to get my 12, which was down here. 3 times 4 rows, right? So that was here. And then I could break down that 4 as well, even further, to 2 times 2. Okay, and all together, from this tree to this tree, these were my factors. 2, 2, and 3. And here I also have 2, 2, and 3. And we just write them like this with the smallest numbers first, going smallest to biggest. So I have 2, 2, and 3, and here also 2, 2, and 3. So that's the factor tree version. But I can also say the factors of 12 are 1, which would always kind of be a factor, 2, 3, 4, and 6. These ones are more the ones we would be using. 2, 3, 4, and 6. And you can see that here in the greens. 2, 3, 4, and 6. What I had down here was just my breaking down even further the number 6. And how did I break down that number 6? I can do 6 3 times, and I can do 6 2 times. And so that was me showing this part here with the 6. And I just wanted to show how you represent that is happening here, the 6. Okay? So you can break down this pretty much showing a factor of 6. So this is what I would do with my students. Okay, so you would do that kind of a tree. And you can use the Pegboard for lots of things, squares and more advanced things. But we're going to go ahead and move something that you lay on the ground, which I already started it, so you can kind of see the process of that. So that is a colored bead box with even more colored beads. It's very big and thick and heavy. It's right there. And I'm having a hard zoom in time. There you go. So it has all the colored beads. and it's a bigger box than the checkerboard, and you're going to show multiplication using these colored beads. So here on the side I already showed two different ones. So I have 1 times 1, 1 times 2, 1 times 3, 1 times 4, 1 times 5, 1 times 6, 1 times 7, 1 times 8, 1 times 9, and 1 times 10. And then over here I have the 2's laid out. 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4, 2 times 5, 2 times 6, 2 times 7, 2 times 8, 2 times 9, and 2 times 10. Okay, so they're going to focus on their multiples. They can sing their songs, their counting songs, we call them, while they're doing it. So we always do songs and use songs to help the students. But they can also do this paper, which is a really big paper, like this, and it shows 1 times 1, 1 times 2, you can see at the top, 1 times 3, 1 times 4, 1 times 5, and they can use their colored pencils there to color it in as they're going along. They can say their multiples and practice their multiples as they're doing this, so having it laid out like this. You cannot put the beads on here, although I've tried to use this kind of like a mat. They will just kind of like all mush up together, so they need a little bit more space. So this is going to work on that multiplication, and this is a great work to use before you get into the checkerboard. So using this is going to make the checkerboard successful. So you would want to do this before the checkerboard. And so the last very, very difficult type of multiplication would be the checkerboard. This is what the checkerboard looks like. And when I mentioned earlier that you can go back and forth between pegboard and checkerboard, by that I mean that since we're already working with the colored beads, we could go to the checkerboard, and a lot of children do understand the checkerboard next. I have kids mostly doing the checkerboard, and then they're doing factors after that, and that's okay. Because they already understand these colored beads. So they will have success using this already. So the checkerboard is just this very long board. And when you look at it, it has units, tens, hundreds, and thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, million, 10 million, 100 million. Very, very long. And then going up across the top, units, tens, hundreds, and thousands. And these colors are very important. Every 3 colors, there's a comma in Montessori, 3 colors, comma. So that is why the colors repeat. Okay? So they're going to use these colored beads to do this multiplication work. I have this great little activity set of cards from this company that we purchased these from. And this is the equation I'm going to do. Before this equation, you can do just simply laying out the whole entire multiplication on the board itself. But we're going to go ahead and do an equation so you can see how that would happen. So we're going to do 3,214 times 2. Multiplication, multiplier. They've understood that since the beginning, where we started the checkerboard in the beginning. So we have our equation laid out. And here I'm going to zoom into the board so you can see how I use it on the board. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to lay out my numbers. Times 2, 2. And across the bottom, I'm going to lay out my multiplication. So my multiplier, and I'm going to lay out my multiplication. 3,214. 3, put it in the thousands. 2, I can put in the hundreds. 4, I can put in my units. And I need 1 for my tens. So they do need to understand place value for this. And the place value of the Montessori uses these color sequences. So I can zoom you in a little bit so you can kind of see there the number laid out, multiplication and multiplier. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is do what the board is asking me. So I have 4 and I needed to do it 2 times here. So knowing my colors already, I'm going to do 4 2 times. I need to do 1 2 times. 1 2 times. I need to do 2 times. 2 times. And I need to do 3 2 times. 3 2 times. So if the child knows their multiplications, which they should know before they get here, 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so this is the same thing. It's like an exchange for 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Anything times 1 is itself. So I can just go right into that 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So I can move that and exchange that exactly for a 4. Same, even exchange. And 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to do an even exchange with 6. So if I know my multiplication tables, which I should know before I even get here, I could do that right off the bat. And that is my answer. Okay. So I will show you how I would write that down here on my paper. So 2 times 4, 8. 2 times 1, 2. And I have it right there. 2 times 2, 4. And 2 times 3, 6. So I write down each of my integers there in the corresponding place value. And a great thing about those little, I just lost my little equation card. Here it is. The answer is on the back, so they have that correction of error for 6,428. That was my answer, and I got it correct. Okay, so if they do not know the charts, they do not know all of their multiplication tables, they're not going to have success with this work. If you have a 2-digit multiplier, you would just do the next multiplier here on the board. So we can do that. We can add another multiplier here at the top. We can go all the way to thousands with this board. So, for example, here, if I want to do 3, I could do an equation here of this times 32 instead of times 2. And then you would do 4 3 times, 1 3 times, 2 3 times, and 3 3 times. And I would add that partial product here and do it times 32. Okay, so I can show you that really quickly because that's another very common form of equations that my students do with 2-digit multipliers. So I got times 32 now. And I can leave what I have out already because that's very useful to me. So let's do this equation. I just added the 3. So let's put the 6,428, because we already know that that's the multiplications of 2's done. Let's do a multiplication of 3. So let's zoom in here. 4 3 times. So here's my 4. And I have it 3 times. 1 3 times. 2 3 times. Knowing their colors, they will make it quicker for them. And 3 3 times. Okay, and now I'm going to exchange those. 4 3 times is 12, so this is an even exchange for 12. How do we represent 12? 1 and a 2. And the 2 is on the right in the units place, and the 1 is in the tens. So I actually shift that to the tens place, and I leave the 2 in the units place. So now I added a number there. So I can already write that down here as one of my partial products on my paper, or I can wait till the end, which I think is going to be more useful for all the students. So let's do that 4. Now I have 4, because I had 3 and I added 1. There's my 4. 2 3 times is 6. So this is an even exchange for 6. And 3 3 times is an even exchange for a 9. That's the 9. Okay? And so now what I have to do is my partial products. I need to add my partial products. And what you're going to teach the child before I add my second partial product is, you see units here and they don't have any zeros. But the 10 here, it does have a 0 because it's up a place value. So that is where you show that 0 by the placeholder 0, I like to refer to my friends. There, you need that 0 there because we're in the tens place now. And I can write my partial product. 2 and 4 and 6 and 8. Interesting. Now I'm going to slide them. So blue slides into blue, red slides into red, green slides into green, and the dark blue slides all the way down to the dark blue. So you want to slide everything all the way down so we can add those products. So you can see there, I slid them all down. And now it's the same thing as adding those. 8 plus 8 is the same here. 8 plus 8 is 8. I'm sorry, 8 plus 8. I'm saying that wrong. 8 plus 0 is 8. I just have 8. I didn't have to slide anything down because I had a placeholder there. And this is a 10, so it moved to the tens place. There's no units up here anymore. Now we have in our spot down here 2 plus 2, which is 4. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So I have to exchange my 2 plus 2. 2 2s. 2a, 4. And I have 4 plus 4 in my hundreds place. 4 plus 4. So I'm going to exchange that for an 8. I'm going to write 8 here. And I've got 6 plus 6. And that is here. And that's going to be 12. So how do I represent 12? I represent 12 with a 1 and a 2. The 2 being in the units place and the 1 being in the next place value. So I'm going to move that to the next place value. So that would be the same thing as on the paper, you writing down your 2 and bringing the 1 over to the top. So now I have 8 plus 1 here, which is 9. So I exchange that for the number 9. Okay. Okay, let's see if I got that correct. Let's see. 8, 2, 4, 6. Okay, 3 times 12. Carry the 1, 4. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 3. Ooh, I see. I knew there was something there. So we had a 9 there. I don't know if you noticed that. And I accidentally put an 8. We had a 9 there, and I knew when I was doing it, and I was like, huh, 9 plus 1 here. That's what we had. And I had accidentally wrote 8 plus 1. So there's where I could see my mistake was off. I was off. 9 plus 1 is 10, right? So I'm going to put my 0 and carry my 1 to the next place value, like that. And so on the board you would exchange that for a 10, so 0 here. Nothing would be there. So it should look like that. And if I look at my colors, every 3 I have a comma. So a comma right there before I start the next. So I made a tiny mistake, but that happens. And that's why there's that correction of error where you can see, oh wait, what did I just move? Oh, that color wasn't correct for what I had written down here. And the kids will do that all the time. Adults will do that just like I did. But that's okay. It's part of the process. So that is my answer if I had 32 times 3,214. And if you wanted to add another multiplier or just use one of the cards, you could. Okay, so that is checkerboard. That is not the full set of doing the checkerboard. You can do higher multiplications. If you look at these little cards, you can go all the way to that, some big ones. And another resource that I use, obviously because I am NAMC certified, I go to the book. I go to my mathematics one book and just use that with, there's the checkerboard right in the front cover. I use that to kind of find, okay, what am I supposed to do? What order should I do it on? It doesn't always seem to work out that well with the student because they might want to do something else. You might see another student doing something else, but you want to try your best to do it in that order. With the order laid out here with multiplication, Pegboard, with combinations of numbers, doing the charts. There's different charts. I just showed one chart there. Doing games to memorize. So to me, the counting songs are really useful. The kids love to do singing songs like that. And then you would go like the skip counting. It's like the counting songs again with the short bead, long bead, the decanomial layout. You can do it this way or that way. So they say vertical or diagonally. Multiplying by tens, really the large number layout is great for that. If they don't know their tens, I would even do that before. Like that's the first multiplications that they end up doing because when they do the large number layout in preschool, they are multiplying by tens. And then you can go into the factors, which is what I said was the pegboard, doing factors with that. You can do lots of things, prime factors and greatest common factors. And then the checkerboard would be, once you understand that place value, because it is a long step process, you can do 1-digit multipliers, 3-digit multipliers, all the way to 4-digit multipliers. And one of the very, very last games, I have the flat bead frame. I find that useful, but they really got to understand that process with multiplication. And then there's been a big game. But for most of the lower elementary students, they're going to start making sure, even since preschool, they can start that multiplication board and then go into the checkerboard to have some success with those things over time, and then they can move on to the the other harder work. So I would go to this if you have this available, and then using those worksheets as well that you can print out and try to make it fun. Multiplication can be fun because addition's fun. And you can make multiplication fun for the kids. You can pair them up. Sometimes that helps, pairing them up. And I know Montessori's big on individual work, but there's sometimes where the passion another child has and the teaching abilities that they can have on another child has a great impact. But I find it important to make sure you are combining the right kids together. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps you set up multiplication and learn the progression. There are a lot of videos on how to do each work in detail, start to finish, very specifically. And again, this video is more made to show you the progression, where you would start and where you would want to be at by the end of their first year in the lower elementary. So I hope it was helpful, and I hope everyone has the best success in their classroom. Thank you for watching.